Welcome to another episode of Scott Talk with Matt Scott. I'm Joe Lodanosky. We're live here at Charlie's Pub and Eatery in a 41-20 win over the team up north. Of course, 3-1 now in PSAC West play. Coach Scott, you talk about meaningful games in the month of October, meaningful games in the month of November. That is certainly what is in front. No easy task. We'll talk about Seton Hill coming up. But, there's so many different, kind of ways that we can look at this game. And let's start with this. Was this the most complete game that your team has played to date?
No. We still started off pretty slow. But we did a good job of it. I think the best thing about it was the ability to come out in the second half and have a lead. And then have the ball and be able to double up those guys. That was huge. That's all we talked about at halftime, is the ability to do that. That first drive on offense was going to tell us everything about what we needed to do in the second half. And we really had been a second half for most of the year, playing our best football, and unfortunately having to dig out of some games and things like that. So it was nice to be able to go in the second half with the lead. But the opening drive, watching it as a defense today, you would have thought we lost 41-20 with the way we were getting coached up there in the meeting rooms and stuff. So we're still a long way from playing that complete game yet that we're looking for, but it definitely had some moments when we were playing pretty lights out.
Yeah, when I asked the question because you threw the ball, you ran the ball, had some splash plays. Obviously, Sunday at Kegawana was unbelievable. A couple of interceptions. I mean, you did – maybe not a full 60 minutes, but certainly in all of the things that you would, the itemized list of, if we're going to win a football game, we got to do X, Y, and Z. Maybe I should have phrased that better. That's probably the most complete game because you made splash plays in all three phases.
Sure, yeah. And there's probably a couple plays there, special teams wise, kickoff wise. We got to do a little bit better job getting down the field and covering and staying in our lanes and containing the ball. They had a couple big returns there, but we did make a play just about in every phase of it. Had a little bit of pressure there with the snap over their head on the punt that put us in good field position. Defensively did a great job taking the ball away a couple times there, putting some pressure on the quarterback. Ty is a heck of a player. We had him feeling pretty uncomfortable for most of the day.
Now let's talk a little bit about the defense, and we'll get to the offense. Obviously, good to see Jared France finding the end zone again. It's been a while for him, but when you talk about the situational football, the D-line, it really started with them. I felt that you were able to generate pressure with just three. And when you can do that, those windows get real tight in the back end, and those lollipop interceptions get pretty easy. But, this rotation of defensive line has evolved and grown, and the rep, Mo Webster was all over the place as well. Just talk about that group, because I really felt that if there was a group that had the most impact on the ball game, it would have been that D-line.
Yeah, they did a great job. And I mean, we look at our snaps, and I think our second unit had 34, 35 snaps, and the first unit actually was in the 28, 29. That second unit was really kind of hot. Sunday had a great game. Mo Webster was doing his thing. JT Wallach was doing his thing. And so the thing that I love about our D-line group and our unit is they're all just about somebody going to eat and somebody making a play. They're all cheering each other on. They're ready for their moment. And so it was good to see those guys have success, and it was good to see just the camaraderie of the group and being excited for each other. Again, they did a great job just getting after the quarterback.
I did want to text you during the game, can you please stop taking the victory snaps out of the shotgun, because it's going to get us under 200 rushing yards, and it ultimately did. Yeah. But this is now the third week in a row, the sustained ground game. Everybody knows it. I don't care what the level is. If you can't run it, you're not going to win it. And you guys, again, 3 straight weeks being able to run the football. That speaks volumes to, quite frankly, from feeling like where it came from, right?
Yeah. I think the thing that I love the best about the run game is you're seeing our running backs winning their one-on-one matchups. Like, hey, the corner's unblocked guy. Hey, there's the +1 backer. You got to run him over. You got to make him miss. And you saw Karan do that on a couple. You saw Jerry do that on a couple. So as much as we want to scheme up, we want to dial up, we want to get those guys out of the way and create lanes for them, it was really good to see our backs, make some guys miss, run some guys over, have some punishing runs on the day.
Now, obviously, you talk about the one game at a time, but the first, I don't know, it was a weird first half. The first two possessions, like, oh boy, this is going to be 71, 70 points on the board here, which we've seen Gannon in those sorts of track meets. But then you tightened up, and I felt that the time of possession, the game management, you could, even though the points weren't necessarily there in the first half for you, but it did feel as if you really had kind of taken control of the game. What can you attribute that to? Because it felt like Gannon was punching uphill, basically from the second quarter on.
Yeah, I really kind of felt it. I knew there was going to be a moment there where we were going to kind of be able to break their back and break through a little bit. And I think we learned a little bit from the Fairmont game. Like, we know some of those plays are out there, but again, we have to make sure we understand our identity and we're ball control, and then we're gonna be calculated in the risks that we take and the shots that we take. And so I think we did a really good job of layering some of that stuff in and finding our spots to take our shots to one-on-one with France there. We opened up the second half with a double move off of play action, off of the very first play of the game. So layering that stuff in, mixing that stuff, not having to force it in there, and knowing that we can dink and dunk these guys down the field. We can run the ball. We don't need to get way too aggressive and give them an opportunity to get back into the game.
The other thing is, when you score in every quarter, it's hard to lose. And, obviously 7, 14, 13, and 7. You win the second half 20-6. But it's sustained drives. I think that's the thing that we talk about. And it probably doesn't get enough attention. Points are one thing. But when you're out there for, 14 plays, 63 yards, the last scoring drive, taking 7:26 off the clock, 6 for 80, obviously but there's a scoring drive of 11 for 75 yards. How important is that to not only your morale, but to crush your opponent's morale?
Yeah, I mean, all I do is talk to Zach all day. It's just like I'm in his ear, chug, just keep chugging along, man. We'll find our moment to take that big shot play, but it's all there for us. They're playing soft. The access throws there. Nico makes it very easy to want to go that route because he can make a lot of those throws. And then obviously you have your opportunities when the box gets a little light to run the football and do what you need to do. And I just think that that's really tough. It really breaks the morale of the defense when you're out there 11, 14 plays. You got them on third down, and we go ahead and convert. And so that was really good to see us execute those.
You talk about the conversion rate starting to get a little bit higher and then starting to get a little bit lower. When you look at that stat, in terms of what your conversion rate is on third down versus your opponent's conversion rate on third down, what sort of margin, you've been doing this a long time. What's the gap that says, if we're plus, 25%, is it plus 30? What's the line of delineation that you should probably win the football game at that point?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I tell you what, third down can be – I think third down started to become a weird stat because everyone's starting to go for it on fourth down so much. And, I think for us, obviously, we want to be over 50% as an offense, and we were pretty close there. I think defensively, we were not great on the day. They were 5-11 for 11 on the day. And you look at a couple of the ones that we give up, guys aren't where they're supposed to be. We're not containing. We're letting the ball get outside of us on a zero blitz, things along those lines. So, we still have to continue to clean that up and find ways that, the thing we keep talking about is feed our offense. They're so hot right now. We've got to find a way to get them more and more possessions. That starts obviously with takeaways, but it's winning on third down, getting off the field there, and just giving our offense as many opportunities as they can to get going.
We're live at Charlie's Pub and Eatery. It's Scott Talk with Matt Scott. When we come back, we have a player. I don't know what player. There's too many players to choose from. Who's coming up here?
So we got Nick Pennucci coming up, linebacker. So I'm excited to hear what he has to say. He's never short of words on the sideline. I give him a couple side-eye looks at least once a game. Where me and him are gonna have a nice discussion later. But he's done a really tremendous job. He's one of our smartest kids on our unit. So excited to hear what he has to say here.
All right, so Nick Pennucci will join us when we come back. Then, of course, we'll be rejoined by Coach Scott. We will turn the page to the Griffins of Seton Hill. We're live at Charlie's Pub and Eatery, Route 99, just past the lake. Nick Pennucci when we come back. Welcome back to Charlie's Pub and Eatery, Route 99, just past the lake. It's Scott Talk with Matt Scott. Mr. Pennucci joining us. Fine game. Let me see, make sure I get this right. Stat line, a sack, 1.5 TFLs, an interception. First collegiate career interception, right? Yep. All right. You were more excited when it happened than when I asked you about it, though, weren't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just for clarification purpose. Thanks for clearing that up. All right. You guys were everywhere. Defensively, again, we've talked before on the pregame show. We had Morales up here. You guys were a question mark. Your group was a question mark, but all of a sudden, the playmaking from that linebacker room has been, the sideline to sideline speed that you have become a bright spot and a productive group. Where are you at now? Obviously, prior, you weren't getting, you got some action. Carlos got some snaps, but now you guys are out there for the large majority of the game. Just your overall confidence and kind of understanding of what you're trying to do out there. I would imagine even at this juncture of the season, 8 games in, things are slowing down a little bit and things are just, what's that been like to be an ancillary piece to basically the primary piece, basically in one off season?
So it started last year. We lost a lot of guys in the linebacker room, and we knew that. But this week, like every week, we're still just trying to get better. There's a lot of stuff that I think the best part about last week is we weren't perfect, and so there was still opportunity for plays to be made. So me, Los, Zig, all the guys, Vogue, McCray, Dante, all the Wills, we still know that there's room to get better and more plays to get made. Plays to be made. So I think that's where we're at right now.
And of course, it's from a learning perspective, there is still some mistakes mixed in with some of the production. And, obviously to get better, you got to focus probably more on the mistakes, although the highlights this past week were probably more fun to watch.
Yeah.
But again, ultimately, if you want a chance to win the West, you got to win 3 more times.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always hard. You're watching film and you watch the good plays and they're nice, but you learn a lot more from the plays you miss or the mistakes you make. So those are what you watch again and you want to focus more on. The good plays, you feel them, they're nice, so then you move on. But, yeah.
Now they sort of make fun of you for the time that you spend in the playbook and in your film study that you do on your own. I promise you, in the history of sports, no coach has not recruited a kid because he played too hard or he put too much time in. But obviously, it's starting to pay off. I mean, do you sort of have this matrixy thing that kind of slows down? You're like, I saw that. Like, you just know, because you're not always in the right spot by accident. And the flow to the football, like, how much time do you actually put in to watch film?
I think the coaches do a great job of giving us good cut-ups to watch, and especially in practice. You see things in practice before you see it in the game. So that's more important than, you can study the playbook and watch all the film, but watching film does help, but practice is the biggest part. Fit it in practice right, and then you see it in the game, and then that's when it slows down. That's when it, gets better and faster.
Now, obviously, the guys in front of you were all over the place. Mo and JT, both JTs, and Caden Spiegel. I mean, that collectively, how much easier does your job get when those guys are doing what they? I mean, they were getting pressure with 3 guys.
Yeah.
I mean, how much easier did things get when all of a sudden, there's free lanes for you to come in to get your sack? But those guys up front really open up a lot of opportunities for everybody behind them.
They were doing a great job causing havoc. And then in the back end, too, we're doing a good job of covering up their first, second looks. So quarterbacks get flushed. They, panic a little and they scramble. The pocket's not clean anyways. Yeah, it was a good job when the back end and front end come together. Then that's when real defense starts happening.
Now, I'm always curious because obviously the Fairmont State game is one that we'd like to forget, but there is the difference a week makes, right? What some of the mistakes that were made, the previous week versus, obviously coach is not going to say perfect, but you were much improved last week against Gannon. That week of practice that, what was that like? Is it kind of rah, or is it more kind of put your head down and, we've got work to do? That's just unacceptable. Like, what was the demeanor of practice last week before the Gannon game after that tough Fairmont State loss?
Focus. Everybody just realized that there was things that individuals could improve on, and they improved on it. We had better energy during, practice, and just better.
All right, so I got to ask you this. We do it for everybody. When your football time is done, what's the plan? Or as I'd like to say, when you grow up, what do you want to do when you grow up?
I'm a finance major right now, so I'd like to, when I'm done, just help people invest their money. That's about it, yeah.
All right, there he is. Nick Pennucci joining us. Coach Scott will join us when we come back. Get you ready for the Griffins, a noon kickoff on the road in Greensburg. It's Scott Talk with Matt Scott live from Charlie's Pub and Eatery, Route 99, just past the lake. Welcome back to Charlie's Pub and Eatery, Route 99, just past the lake. Scott Talk with Matt Scott, Joe Lodanosky with you. Turn the page to the Griffins. Now, Seton Hill has been a great mystery. A lot of things changed. New coach. Probably the best win, most impressive win posted by anybody in the West. Last year they had the best running back. Craigett has not been the same guy. He's shown it in spots. So, I'm literally at a loss as to what to expect. I know historically they've been very physical. They've been very athletic up front. But again, the results, much like this whole year, from one week to the next, have been nothing shy of just a question mark when it comes to the West. What can you tell us about the Griffins?
Yeah, man, they kind of remind you of, an old school Baltimore Ravens team where they're going to play really, really lights out defense, try to run the football offensively and limit the mistakes and have no problem winning the game 13-7, really going to try to do everything they can to not put their defense in bad positions and allow those guys to get after offenses. They're just, they the way they play, they suffocate. The games that they've played well, they've straight up suffocated offenses, man-to-man, pressure, exotic looks, physical, getting after the quarterback. So we're going to definitely have our hands full for sure. I'm excited to see what our offensive staff is going to put together for what they do defensively. I think it's incredibly important for us as a defense to make sure that we make them earn the drives. Like we can't give up big plays. We've got to really do a great job of making their offense earn it because, again, you watch them offensively, the running game has stalled at times. They've struggled to be high percentage in the pass game. They will throw some shots down the field and make you have to defend the whole part of the field. But, I really think our defense has to shine brightly this week and do a really good job of giving our offense a ton of cracks at this defense.
Yeah, that first half they had against Indiana might have been the best half of football that anybody's played, defensively. They were really, really impressive. But again, is it – obviously, Craigett was unbelievable last year. I know they had some losses on that offensive line. From what you've seen, from what I watched, he appears to be healthy. But, last year he was not only the best back in the league, but he was probably one of the best backs in the entire country.
Yeah, he's definitely having to work pretty hard to make it happen. He's had a couple really nice runs, though, where he's made teams pay for not doing a great job of leveraging the ball and protecting their edges, and he's bounced it out and sneaks one out. He had a 60-yard run and I believe a 40 or 50-yard run as well last week, and both of them were kind of the same play. It looks like it's bottled up inside and then hits a nice jump cut and bounces it outside. Obviously O-line-wise, there's a couple guys that are banged up. I think tight end-wise, there's some guys, young guys that are trying to figure it out and get used to the reps and snaps that they're playing. So I think that's limiting him a little bit. But one-on-one, he's still going to be a load to bring down. There's still some elusiveness. There's still some speed. Obviously, anytime you're coming off a year that he had, those miles catch up to you eventually. But I would be shocked to not see, a prime time performance out of them this week. And our guys are going to be ready to rock and roll. We have to do a great job of tackling this guy.
Now, you did have some injuries, and we can't get too deep into the weeds, obviously, but in terms of availability. I know the secondary was banged up. In terms of participants, how percentage-wise, how healthy do you anticipate?
We're in great shape. We had a really good yesterday of recovery. Our athletic training staff did an awesome job of just getting our guys ready to rock and roll. Our guys are, again, you're at that time of the year. I tell our guys all the time, the only time you're going to feel good is Christmas and the 4th of July. And right now everything hurts. And if you feel like you're good to go, and if our training staff thinks you're ready to rock and roll, let's roll it out there. And so our guys are doing a great job of just pushing through. The energy in the weight room today was awesome. Guys that you were like, oh, he's probably going to be out today. He's like, oh, no, I'm good, coach. I'm ready to rock and roll. So the guys understand the urgency. They're ready to rock. We've been very, very fortunate secondary-wise that we're going to have all those guys ready to go. They're all trending in the right direction. Those guys are out there running around doing Indy and all that type of stuff. So we're really excited about the fact that we'll be at full strength here going into the weekend.
Now, obviously, when you look at, from 1 week to the next in this crazy, crazy West that we've had, but when you look at Seton Hill, who are they? Because they've kind of had offensively, they've kind of had some different. I remember a couple of years ago it was monsters on the outside and Smurfs in the slot. But what is it going to be? Still the spread? Who are they schematically?
Yeah, you're going to still see a lot of spread, similar stuff that we've seen all year long. A lot of 11 personnel, so they're going to have a tight end out there on the field. They will spread those guys out. They got some guys. Those guys have some size. They do have some size on the outside. They're kind of probably missing that little shifty slot that you're looking for, but they do have some big receiving threats on the outside, and you've seen their quarterbacks throw it up to those guys and give them an opportunity to go make a play. But again, it's all going to go back to the running game, and then try to RPO off that, and if you want to load the box up and try to get the ball out onto the perimeter. So we'll have to do a really good job of playing sideline to sideline, running to the football, great pursuit. We've got to tackle much better than we did last week. So those are all things as we look as a defense that we've got to make sure we're really focused on.
Yeah, a couple of years back, I think Seton Hill had like 6'6" and 6'5" on the outside and 5'8" and 5'7" in the slot. They were just so difficult to defend. All right, everybody's favorite game. Well, my favorite game. You don't like it. 3 reasons you win, 3 reasons you lose.
Yeah, I think obviously the biggest one for us as an offense is limiting the negative plays. And then not letting the negative plays, get us down, because they're going to come out on a bunch of different fronts, and there's going to be times where it's going to be feast or famine. We're going to break one for a big run because one of their guys didn't fit the right gap, or we ran off the man-to-man corner or whatever it is, and we run the ball and it's a big play. And then there's going to be a couple of times where we might be a step too slow off the ball, and that crosses our face, and they make a play in the backfield. So just being able to understand, hey, there's going to be some negative plays. Let's overcome those. Let's keep our head down, stick to the plan, and get it rocking and rolling. Defensively, we've got to limit the run game. Like if we can keep them under 125 yards for the game, we're going to be in really good shape, and limit those big plays. And we got to keep them under 21 points for sure. Like they can't score over 21 points in this game. We've got to give our offense as many opportunities as we can to score this week. And as always, we're trying to look away to get out of neutral there on special teams. I'd love to see a big return. I'd love to see a block kick, something along those lines where we can either get an extra possession or a short field for our offense. And I think if we can do those things and not turn the football over, we're going to give ourselves a chance to really have a great Saturday. I'm excited for our guys. Our guys are juiced up. They're ready to rock and roll. And they understand that we're going to keep our foot on them. Like, there's never can be a moment where all of a sudden we're just going to be, hey, we've arrived. We've got so much work left to do. There's so much still left to play for, but it's one game at a time, 1 week at a time. And I'm having a lot of fun with our guys, and I know they're enjoying it too.
All right, noon kickoff, 11 o'clock airtime on the Fighting Scots Radio Network, presented by ErieInjury.com. Tim Shaw will have the pregame show built by Hobbs Lumber at 11 o'clock. Coach?
Hey, go Burrow. Let's have a great week.
All right, we will talk to you on the radio. Thanks for hanging out with us here at Charlie's Pub and Eatery, Route 99, just past the lake. For Matt Scott, I'm Joe Lodanosky. Until next time.